There's a super interesting piece in Politico magazine. This piece is by Jonathan Martin, and it is called, "Are the Anti-Trump GOP Forces, meaning Republican forces, Starting to Implode? A mission control breakdown for DeSantis and smooth launch for Tim Scott bode ill for those hoping to thwart the former president." This entire article is worth reading, but I want to focus on a couple of different aspects to this. The article asks, Jonathan Martin asks, will this go down as the week that the grand plan to deny Donald Trump the nomination fell apart? For months, high-level Republican lawmakers, donors, and strategists eager to block Trump have described in separate conversations with me an endgame to the presidential primary. When it becomes clear in the early state and national polling who is consolidating support, the most influential figures with ties to the lagging candidates will stage a sort of political intervention and tell them it's time to quit and rally to the strongest alternative to Trump. Such a plot always struck me as a bit far-fetched, for starters because politicians aren't known for putting party ahead of self. Interestingly, it's exactly what Democrats did in the primary in 2020. Back to Jonathan Martin, yet the appetite among elite Republicans to move past Trump was and is so immense, I thought there could at least be a do the right thing effort. Yet, as spring turns to summer, traditionally the period where presidential hopefuls consider whether they're gaining traction, this vision seems more fantasy than strategy. In fact, if Trump does emerge as the GOP standard bearer next year, we will look back on this week to grasp why, just like in 2016, he was able to take advantage of a divided opposition. Now, understand the strategy that is being laid out. This is a possible strategy. The idea would be, okay, the Florida primary comes close, and imagine that it's Trump 55 and DeSantis 35 because it's his home state, and the other 20% or 10% is divided among other candidates. The idea would be everyone other than DeSantis gets out and says support DeSantis, and maybe that gets DeSantis enough to beat Trump in Florida. In New Hampshire, maybe Nikki Haley's doing better other than Trump. And so even though Trump is winning in New Hampshire, everybody but Nikki Haley gets out and says, vote for Nikki Haley or whatever. It's not super realistic. The timing of it needs to be just so. And it's not clear that Republicans are willing to do that. But what is being argued in this article is it's not going to happen for other reasons. And it goes on to say, the reasons are DeSantis's muffed launch, the fitting sad trombone conclusion to a pre-announcement period in which his stock sagged, announcing his candidacy Monday in the gym of his alma mater, Charleston Southern University. Tim Scott matched DeSantis's Elon Musk with John Thune and Larry Ellison. He also doesn't seem destined for victory. And then there's Nikki Haley, whose campaign is totally dead on arrival, etc. The problem with the anti-Trump Republican movement right now is that they're all failing very hard. Nikki Haley was never inspiring from the beginning, running basically an identity campaign. Vivek Ramaswamy was never really going anywhere. Tim Scott, I mean, again, as I said before, it's not all about identity, but Republicans have for two elections in a row, presidential elections in a row, selected the guy who was openly hostile to black and brown people in his rhetoric, if not policy. They're going to say, oh, let's vote for a black guy instead to represent us. It seems unlikely at the most base of base levels. And then now the DeSantis launch, where DeSantis is trying to figure out a way, how can I kind of be there to pick up the MAGA voters, but I don't really want to attack Trump, to explain to the MAGA voters why they should support me instead. It's not a winning proposition. The launch was a disaster. The only good news for anybody other than Trump is this chart that we're putting up on the screen right now. The purple line at the top of your screen is Trump's polling, which, as you can see, is down from 56 to 53 since DeSantis announced. And on the other hand, DeSantis is up from 19 to 22. So we have seen a 3-point swing in polling in the direction of DeSantis and away from Trump since it became known that DeSantis would be announcing. If you look at the very bottom, everyone else is failing. Okay. You look at Pence is down from 6 to 3, and Haley at one point was at 6. She's down to 4. Everybody else is just peanuts, peanuts, peanuts. Whereas DeSantis and Trump are the only ones really embroiled in anything here. So if there is a path right now for anyone other than Trump, I don't see it as being anybody but DeSantis. But it's not even June of the year before the election yet. There is time if there is a big news-making event. And in my mind, the only possible event would be Trump gets indicted and arrested multiple times and is simply unable to run. Can anything else change this Republican primary? Let me know in the comments.